Tens of thousands struggling to find shelter in the wake of the strongest quake to hit the Philippines in half a century. Aftershocks also slowing search and rescue operations for survivors. And more what's happening on the ground following this earthquake. We're joined by Faisah Ali. She's Humanitarian Manager at Save the Children Philippines, and she's in Northern Mindanao in the Philippines. Ms. Faisah, we have the numbers, the official numbers, so 32,000 displaced, and for now, the death toll at 38. But you're concerned that these numbers underrepresent the scale of calamity in the Philippines.
Yes, this morning, our emergency response team were sent on the ground to personally conduct our validation and assessment, especially on the most affected areas. And we believe that since the assessment is still underway and the search and rescue is still being completed, the reports that we are seeing right now at the national level is remains to be low, and we are expecting that the number will increase in especially the affected population in the next few hours as we complete assessment with the support, of course, of frontlining the Philippine government.
Not wanting to speculate, but you've got 3 teams, 15 to 20, driving this assessment on the ground. Would you have, at this point, a more accurate idea of where figures might be on deaths, injuries, and displacement?
Well, right now it's hard to mention any definite number because we are still working with the barangay officials on the validation of the number of families and individuals that are currently affected. And while there are challenges because there are impacts on the connection to the internet as well as access to the geographically isolated areas, we believe that the numbers would continue to rise as soon as we are able to access this affected areas in those isolated areas.
Ms. Faisah, you work at Save the Children Philippines, so understandable emphasis on the young. But of course, this earthquake happening on the first day of a new school year for millions of students across Mindanao. And we do have figures, so more than 6,200 public and private schools suspended. And of course, there was that video that has gone viral of that moment the quake struck, children screaming in panic, an outdoor structure completely collapsing. So there's emphasis on what's happening, how this affects learning short-term, long-term in the Philippines.
Well, thank you so much for emphasizing that one, because at this point of time, we understand that there are challenges in identified needs to provide immediate food, water, but we are more concerned about the added learning loss or learning days for these children. Supposedly, the other day was the first day of the school year for Philippines nationwide, and unfortunately, the excitement for these children to go back to school, to meet their new classmates and teachers didn't happen as expected. What we've seen is that children were evacuated outside their classrooms. There are panic attacks, trauma, distress because of how strong the earthquake. And beyond that, last year, we know that the Philippines was exposed in different typhoons, and the same region as well was affected by a very strong earthquake. And there has been loss of schooling last year, and it will be compounded because of what happened today. And more than that, that means as well that in the long term, if this school buildings will not be repaired immediately, that means that they will have challenges in accessing conducive learning formal class in informal classrooms, and they will have to have this class in temporary learning spaces. And we know that it takes some time to do some construction for school buildings and infrastructure. That means as well that these learners and children will be exposed to some protection concerns, especially if there will be no conducive and comfortable spaces for them to learn moving forward.
Okay, final question here, Ms. Faisah. of course, there are immediate pressing needs in this particular disaster, but the Department of Education last year releasing what it calculated in terms of loss of school days in learning. You've got that number, so this is a long-term concern for the Philippines, victim as it is of natural disasters. Final question.
Yes, well, as I've said, right now, that's the main concern, to ensure that these learners will be able to go back immediately to school as soon as there are confirmed safe access to this infrastructures or the school buildings. But for those who have lost their classrooms, totally damaged, they will have to be provided with temporary learning spaces, and ensuring that these are conducive and they will be able to take their classes in these platforms or spaces.
Oh, thanks. Ms. Faisah Ali, Humanitarian Manager at Save the Children Philippines.